Okay, let's rock and roll. When I started this, my final channel of 3 here in Pflugerville, really all of my first subscribers were senior citizens, 65 and older, kind of a word of mouth thing, and that's primarily who were the only ones that were, well, no, there were young people approaching me, but primarily it was older church-going people, and that's why I'm making this video. Is you've gone from being my total audience and not watching very much to being, you're apparently watching more lately, but there's also a lot of other people in that age range. But making this hopefully short video to prompt people to subscribe to and watch the videos of the gentleman I mentioned earlier, one Cass Cumerford. Look back on the spelling will be in the. He is indeed an actor, and what I really like about Cass is that, you know, you can tell the difference when he's doing some sort of satirical thing, and then I was actually watching kind of this story of his life in the 50s. He's would identify as kind of an Australian beatnik, his actor. He's a, you know, professional actor. Been in a lot of, I haven't run down his whole, he's done westerns, he was the voice actor in a movie made last year. And I really highly recommend the guy. I mean, it kind of depends upon your taste. That's why because I was really relating to his story, and he tells it in kind of a slower style that my father would really like and stuff. And I remember what it was like to use a dunny hole, or what we call here an outhouse. They were still around, and, you know, gosh, I can remember one near my home. There was actually outside a tavern place, and oh my gosh, she should have ventilated it. It was a tavern. It was, oh gosh, bunch of beer drinking Czechs in there. Whoo! It'd fry your nostrils pretty good. If you think his presentations are not really vulgar. Not as vulgar as me. He uses very little vulgarity. So shouldn't be too offensive to Christians. I don't really know any religious affiliations. I'm still interested in finding out more. I was watching one video. I didn't see the full order. Wasn't really paying attention. I just kind of saw the ship. And he tells an interesting story. I identify with. I remember as a kid, you know, we would go to the movies, and then, you know, for 1 week we wanted to be, you know, sword. You know, we do a little sword play with the pickets off of a picket fence and stuff like that. It's because they have that sharp point on the end to keep people from jumping over them, or dogs from jumping over them. And instant sword, unlimited, from some old. Did I mention? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm doing it again. I'm turning what should be a 5-minute video into probably a 10-minute video. And I have trouble because my left arm really ain't working. His father, by the way, was wounded in Lebanon after fighting the Axis powers in Palestine and Lebanon, the Turks, the Ottoman Empire. That's how because I still consider myself like a nation birthed by Britain, as many Australians are proud to be birthed by Britain. Canadians, I think they were. And please, I understand if Cass, if you're watching this, if I came up as suggested on your YouTube, I understand, because I usually do a brief review of analytics every night or every other night or something like that. Lately, sometimes that's the only place I can find all my recent comments. They're not coming up on my notifications. YouTube's been a real mess for 15 days now. And I've been distracted. I haven't. One of the reasons I'm watching your videos is because they're kind of unique, and you're a real person. You know, it's so many of these people on YouTube, they really got nothing new to say that I want to hear and stuff. They're not really entertaining. The movies are just redundant as hell and stuff. And so something real, like him talking about his life, and that's where it cut off, as chapter 4 of, he was talking about life in the early 50s. And he ended that chapter with his mom going to the hospital with headaches. I'm pretty sure I know what happened. You have my sympathy. If I come from a family of Stoics. We didn't hug or touch and stuff like that. We expressed our love in other ways. But I enjoy your storytelling, because it brings back memories for me, because I was in that era, and that's why I'm recommending it to the more senior members of my viewers. I don't know how many thousands of unique viewers, and I don't know what my current view count. I never get that. I just am looking for certain things sometimes, and main thing was tracking. As I made as an explanation, Cass, if I came up on your feed, it was either you watched a hobo video, or there was somebody, it was from Australia. There was also a couple of Russians that were doing auto-translate into Russian. That must have been fun, because I understand Russian. I speak a little bit of it. I gave up. It's to really pass like a kind of a typical Russian peasant class, or, you know, a peasant who went into the military type. You really, because long time ago, yeah, it's going to turn into 10 minutes here, ain't it? Long time ago, just for goofing around, I had no, and they did as I knew they would flunk me, because my right knee pops. I'm sorry. Yeah, the ambulance building is not too far away, and kind of a, okay. Where was I? Oh, I'd had my leg reconstructed when I was 16, and I knew that by that time, around 20, so I just did it. There was a possibility, and I did pass the DOD language test, which is that may make me go on forever, which is fantastically difficult. I only scored a 61. Almost nobody, even some of the best college-educated linguists and stuff, make more than about a 70 or something on that test. That means you get to go to Monterey, California. I wanted to learn Mandarin because I knew China was going to open up because of Nixon's incursions. Now I'm getting off of Cass's story. I do that sometimes. I get divergent, and so, well, because by now I know that more than half my viewers have tuned out. It tells me where you drop out, and what's catching them is the intro. And that's why I made the intro, you know, specify what this is. You know, the title and the intro is the only thing that gets them to stay in for longer than 3 minutes. And, well, actually, a lot of you have been watching the entire videos, and some of them are way too long. But I'm not going to do what, like one hobo deal I watched the other day. I mean, he was editing after every sentence. He wouldn't like the next sentence. He'd just keep on going, come back and cut it out. Oh my God, you can sit there and rant for an hour and then cut it down to 5 minutes, but it takes you a week to do that edit. And he said he likes editing. Oh, I'm sorry, I just had a soda pop. Anyway, I was trying to make the point that they were right, though. You have to be pitch perfect, and we people from like the North Atlantic, we have a tendency to sometimes get some stuffiness in our, because we, we come from kind of a foggy, cloudy kind of, climate. And you have to be, in a lot of Oriental languages, you have to be pitch perfect all the time or you will be misunderstood. When you're saying, you think you're saying one word, it comes out another one, throws them off, makes them miss a couple of words. And so they wanted me to speak Russian. I'm going to finish that thought. To speak real Russian, to act, like in voice intercept. Maybe I'll spend the rest of the time after. I've already done. The people that are going to watch have already heard my recommendation for Cass. So this is kind of for you, Cass, and my trying to entertain you a little bit with the story of my life. The Russian that you hear in movies and stuff like that is, kind of, an upper class, a sanitized version of it. I mean, like a guy who, worked in the mills or something like that, worked on farms and stuff like that, went into the military, worked his way up and got into some position where he's operating what would have been back then a rat rig or something like that, radio teletype, something, kind of voice intercept at a level that was interceptable and stuff like that. You really kind of had to sound like because they are. You got to sound like you're drunk and you got a couple of 3 loose rocks in your mouth. It's like I'm saying that the Russian that you hear in the movies has been highly sanitized from reality because they don't want to insult the Russians. I'm not sure why. Now I'll go back on. Cass, if you're still listening, you may have caught in some of the videos me telling that my father was born in 1905 when almost everybody, 90 to 95% of those people in America were still agrarian. They didn't live in the urban areas. They lived in the countryside. They're really, some of them, so it may only be 90%, had dunny holes. They had outhouses and so on. The real secret is to dig a big hole. This guy remembers a time in Australia. He tells the story of how his father, after the war, bought a piece of property outside of Adelaide. Actually, one of the most beautiful little creatures on earth. My best friend's granddaughter is named Adelaide. So that's what I told him. Good choice. It was to me, it's never a name that could be male. Adelaide might be like somebody's family name. I've never really mastered the Australian accent. There's a few words I just can't. Otherwise, I know the vernacular. And anyway, but my father's mother, her father was the guy that actually founded Texas, William Wayne Hill. 6 William Waynes in a row in my family for a reason. Because the carpetbaggers actually, and all they're messing with the fraudulent deeds and stuff like that, and burning down the courthouses, doing deed reconstructions. One of the things they were famous for was only putting your initials and then your last name on some fraudulent, conveyance is the correct legal term. And please, one of the reasons that my videos are so long is I'm not trying to talk over anybody's head. I can talk and spent decades of my life talking at the PhD level in biomedical research, where literally only those people at my level could understand what I'm saying. I don't like it when people try to talk over other people's heads and make them feel stupid the way. Actually, that's what a lot of philosophers do. I'm going on every tangent I want to go to on this one. Now, one of the things I learned early on about philosophers is that they make up these non-existent things and stuff like, who was it? Plato, who made up empath, which is purely a fictional word only used by philosophers and science fiction readers. And now people actually think that being an empath or having empathy is an actual thing. Oh, God. And that's what I keep pointing out, is that in English, usage rules. Is sooner or later, someone will actually come to believe that they're like that woman on Star Trek: The Next Generation, that alien. No. Think about it. I'll repeat it one more time. If you were an actual empath where you could actually feel and be that other person, the minute you touched somebody that was suicidally depressed, you'd probably blow your brains out at that sudden rush of all those thoughts and feelings. So it doesn't exist. Philosophers like to make up shit, and then have to explain. They have to create their entire glossaries. They have to write more papers trying to explain it to people who are less wise than them. Please, Hegelian dialectic and all that stuff. Please, what a bunch of... A lot of the philosophers that you people quote are just, jumped up jackaroos, I think is what the King of England said. To the guy who taught him how to speak without impediment. That's another thing I'd recommend. If you haven't seen the King's Speech, for an average guy from Australia, teaches World War I survivors who've been shell-shocked and have developed stutters and stammers. And he never called himself doctor. The king, soon to be King of England, did. And actually, they turned out to be lifelong. And his name was Lionel. It'll come to me. You have to, in learning wisdom, you have to learn to stop grasping at something and then just keep speaking about the subject, and it will come back to you. That's the first thing I learned in like Buddhism and basic real philosophy about how to conduct your life and stuff. Is cut down on the desire. When you start talking about something and you can't remember the name of something like that, just proceed with talking about the subject, and it will come back to you. Stop grasping, and it'll come back anyway. Lionel, and he just had the king was spending all kinds of money, on all these royal king-approved, speech therapists and stuff who would like fill his mouth with marbles and stuff. All that is true. That the King's Speech is a true movie. Actually, I would love Lionel's apartment office. Actually, that would be his office. Had this beautiful wall that you could tell had flaked, and oh gosh, I'd like to recreate that. I do have artistic thing. It's really, my real art was bonsai, dwarfing trees. But that pattern, you can tell that's like 20 layers at a time. 20 times that wall's been painted, and the way it's flaked off, it creates this most just fascinating pattern. I do have an eye for things, and that's one of the reasons I'm interested in Cass's life story. I'm going to finish watching it, and pretty much everything because I'm rather do that than to watch some Pauly Shore movie. Really? Let me see, if I'm going to choose between Cass Cumerford and his movies and his videos that he makes just for fun, and he doesn't really promote him, so doesn't really care. He just makes them, and it's no more Pauly Shore, no more dumbass kind of. And I hope I got through to you. Is if I came up on your feed, Cass, it's because there was somebody in Australia, and then it was New Zealand, because I was getting some designations, and I was getting a viewership in that area around Australia. And one of the users who actually made a negative comment was pro hobo. In his deal, he had NZ for New Zealand. That's clear to me. Yeah, he got blocked. You know, I noticed that every time I get my hand up there, I guess it's the light reflecting off my hand. So I'm already at 20 minutes. Anyway, give Cass a try because he likes telling the true story of his life. He doesn't polish any turds. You know, he's not, I don't see him, you know. I did have a slight advantage over him and stuff like that. And as far as that, yeah, I was born into a house that had a flush toilet. That's actually was my mother's main demand. Was actually, I think my dad was still, when he first saw and fell in love with my mother, he had built his own house by the time he was 21 and was, I think he was doing sharecropping. He was just about to become, and he was successful at it. You know, big, strong English, German guy. It's workaholic, and he got the job as the first ever and only ever paid fireman and also ran and maintained the power plant right next door for, I don't mind telling you, it's city of Caldwell. But my dad was fascinated with the kind of life that his grandfather had, and my Uncle Bud, or is it great Uncle Bud? Uncle Bud. Yeah. No, that was I'm sorry. Keeping all the genealogy straight sometimes I have to. He was, yeah, it was great Uncle Bud. I'm pretty sure. Oh, no. It was Uncle Bud. It was like, anyway. I love the spelling of his name. He was kind of still rode horseback and liked to go sporting and drinking. And my dad got in trouble one time trying to help him out. I'm not going to tell that story. I don't know. I don't think so. But my dad didn't read pretty much anything he didn't have to, and except in his old age when he started having a little time. I mean, old age by old age, shit. I mean, and when he was born, you weren't expected to live 45 years. So by the time he got in his 50s, and now and then, occasionally when he had the time, he'd grab one of those like True West magazines and read the stories of the kind of world that his father and his mother and his grandparents grew up in, the Wild West of Texas. I'm going to end it here. I've rambled enough. That's why this is called The Ramblings of an Old Man. Cass, and to the rest of y'all, you know, when they ask the world about nations, about what things do you think of when you, well, France, cheese and wine, America, best arms and guns and bombs on earth. But when they ask the world in the survey, when you think of America, what do you think of? And worldwide, #1 response was Texas Cowboy. So this video is dedicated to Cass Cumerford, another Englishman like myself. Don't let the German thing fool you. I'm English. I was fortunate to grow up speaking English in a family that's been speaking English for a long time. We've been speaking English since there was English. So just wanted to, because my point was that Cass has starred in Australian Westerns. I watched pieces of some, and there was so much stuff messing with me. I wasn't sure if some of them were using Australian accents, but he is credited with, Texas and Louisiana. And if you're listening, Cass, the way we Texans and even it's Louisiana. Yeah, actually, I'm not doing it right. You have to kind of swallow on when you come up on the AN. Louisiana. Kind of drop that larynx as you. Louisiana. Pull your tongue back, drop the larynx. Cass, I am a good dialectician. I don't think I'm ever going to get Australian down. And you don't really have that strong of an Australian. You have a slight, because you do dialects. You're a dialectician yourself. So a big on you, mate, to Cass Cumerford. Please subscribe to his channel and listen to his life story and get to know a guy who's, has a chronological advantage over you people that think that Pauly Shore is funny. You're not. I've seen some of his comedic work, just simple, stuff, and it's a hell of a lot more entertaining than anything Pauly Shore ever did, or other people that are household names in this country. It's amazing who the star-making machinery promotes. Anyway, I'm done. 26 minutes. I'm getting too long-winded. It's because I've given a couple long lectures today. A lot of people stopped today. I turned a lot of people. They tried to give me literally, if I had accepted all the food that somebody had given me today, I would have had to make 2 or 3, because I cannot possibly. Oh yeah, I could have put it on my wheelchair and pushed it there. I rejected over 100 pounds of food today. I was given enough food yesterday to last through all day today, and I've actually rejected some of that, and I continue. I've eaten more today than I have, and I'm surprised I'm not hurting. My stomach is normally, and I promised to end it, I'm still going. I just really can't eat the big meals that made me this size anymore. And it gave me this height and this strength, or former strength, and speed. So anyway, I'm sorry I'm getting too used to talking to myself in this mirror. I'll see y'all later.